Hello again, Gym Bats. Today's video is part one of a two-part series. A little while ago, a friend of mine who's part of the BDSM community asked me to do a video on flexibility, specifically geared towards allowing him and people with proclivities like him to stay tied up longer and or to be tied up in more interesting positions. So that's what this video is. Part one, I'm going to go over a few specific stretches, and in part two I'm going to incorporate all of those poses and stretches into a short yoga routine. Alright, the first stretch is a simple forward bend. You want to plant your feet about shoulder width apart, or if you're like me, have much broader hips than you have shoulders, about hip width apart. You want everything to just be in a very neutral alignment, basically. And then hinging from the hips, don't round your back, hinge from the hips, just lean forward. Think of elongating your spine and neck while you do that. Let your arms drop forward, or if that's uncomfortable for you, you can hold your own elbows, which is actually ragdoll pose, not a forward bend, but you're hitting the same muscle groups here, so I don't care. And just let yourself lean forward. Again, don't round your back. Keep your spine elongated. If you can and want to, you can touch the floor, that's fine. If this puts any discomfort in your lower back, well, first of all, stop doing it. If you want to adjust it, you can put a chair or some other solid object like that in front of you and lean forward onto that. That'll take some of the pressure off your lower back, but it'll still get you a nice stretch down the back of your legs through your hamstrings and your calves. Alright, this next pose is triangle, and you're actually going to do it once on each side. I'm going to show you on the right side from this angle, and then I'll take a straight-on shot as well from the other side. So you're going to start by placing your legs slightly further than hip width apart, turning your right leg out, so your toes, you back up a little bit so you can see my toes, so your toes are pointed ahead of you. And take your arms, basically you want to make a big star position like this. Turn your head so you're looking over your right hand, and you're going to reach down without bending your legs or your knees. You're going to reach down to the ground behind your right leg, behind your forward leg. And you're going to turn your head up to look at the hand that is up in the air. Now if this is too hard, you can get a block and raise yourself up a little bit. There's no harm in that. Again, you're going to feel this. This is through the back of your leg. It's also opening up your hips a little bit, which is very important. Alright. And then, I'm going to come off my mat a little bit. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but I'm going to do the left side now. So I'm going to turn my left leg out, bring my arms back up into that star position, and dip down, back to the floor, looking up at the hand that's in the air. The hand on the ground should be behind the ankle, so in this case, to the left of the ankle. And again, you're going to feel this all through here, and it's going to open up your hips a lot. This is a standing stretch, which requires a certain amount of balance. If you feel at all wobbly while you're doing this, again, try bringing it up onto a yoga block or some other similar sort of support. Not going as deep into the stretch will give you a little more control over the balance. So even if you have the flexibility but you feel like you're about to fall over, use a yoga block for the first few weeks that you practice this pose. Alright, this next pose is called palm tree. You've seen it a million times, stretching in various gym classes and workouts and what have you. Again, you're going to take a slightly wider than hip width apart stance. Ideally you should be on your mat, but it's going to be harder to show it to you this way, so I'm going to step off my mat for demonstration purposes. And again, you're going to bring both arms out. This star position is a really great starting point for a number of different exercises. Bring your arms both out. Lower your right hand down to your thigh, and without changing the position of your left hand, you're going to trace your right hand down the side and let this come up over your head. I realize I'm slightly off the video here. But you're going to get a nice stretch all along the side of your body, and depending on how flexible you are, possibly also inside here. So coming back down to the floor, we're going to move into Cobbler Pose. otherwise known as butterfly stretch. Again, this is one that you've almost certainly seen in a million gym classes and workout videos. You're going to put the soles of your feet like this together. Great. And then you're going to place them on the ground wherever is comfortable. Closer to your torso is better, but if you're not comfortable bringing them all the way up, go ahead and have them as far out as you need to have them. Similarly, your knees are going to be at different heights. I'm sort of flexible, and so mine are only a couple inches off the ground. I've seen people who can flatten them out, just without any effort. And I know plenty of people who can't get them any lower than this. It's no big deal. Whatever your body is capable of today, the important thing is that you're getting a stretch out of this. So what you're going to do is hold your toes, hand over hand like that, and keeping your spine elongated, you're going to lean forward, you're going to hinge forward from the hips. That's going to bring your knees downward, and it's going to give you a great stretch right in here. Opens up your hips like nobody's business. Alright, and you're just going to hold that for a few seconds right there, right where it is. You feel like you can go ahead and hinge a little deeper into that again, keeping your spine nice and straight, nice and long. And you're going to come back up out of that. Easy peasy. The next stretch I'm going to show you is Cobra Pose. And I'm actually going to show you this from both angles, but just the front angle first. You want your arms, your forearms resting on the ground. Let me shift, there we go. You want your forearms resting on the ground like this. And from basically a neutral position, I want you to bring your head and upper back up. You should feel this. There's going to be a little bit of pulling, clenching in your back, but you should also be able to feel it. It's a little bit of a stretch through the tummy, right through all of this. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on your arms. You're not pushing with these. This is all, see, I can maintain the exact same position without my hands on the ground. This is just a quick look at Cobra from a different angle. Again, forearms, head straight forward. I know I'm turning to talk to you guys, but keep your eyes forward and down, and then just bring it up. And back down. Alright, so this next pose is called Cow's Pose. It is not one that I'm especially good at. It's actually a two-part stretch. I'm going to hit the lower body and the upper body all at the same time. First part is the lower body. Much better at that than I am the upper body, but I'll show you both hows. Basically, you're going to start sitting in a cross-legged position like I am. You're going to choose one leg. Doesn't matter which one because we're going to switch them up later. I'm going to use my left leg as my bottom leg, my right leg as my top leg. So I'm going to bring my right leg out, move my left leg a little bit closer to my body so my heel's kind of hitting my tuchus a little bit. And then I'm going to swing my right leg over my left leg so that my knees are crossed. Almost if I was like sitting in a chair, only I'm not. My legs are underneath me. So, ta-da! I don't know if you can see how hard I'm working to like keep this foot here. This is what's much more natural for me. So don't stress if you can't hit this pose very easily. It's not a super easy pose. But again, if you sit up straight when you're doing this, you're going to feel a nice stretch in here. The second half of the pose is the part I really suck at, but it's a really good stretch, and I include it in my own yoga practice very regularly because I'm so bad at it means I need to stretch that part of my body more than I am. Basically, you're going to take your one hand, I'm going to start with my right hand, and bring it above and behind your back, and the other hand behind your back below. And now ideally, ideally you should be touching your hands and clasping them sort of like this. I'm really bad at this and have really poor flexibility in that part of my body. So I'm going to use a handy-dandy yoga strap. And that's going to look something like this. Get my lower half going. Still in the video? Yeah. I'm going to bring my right hand up. Bring my right hand up over with the yoga strap in. And then I'm going to bring my left hand behind and hold onto the yoga strap. And again, you want to keep your spine nice and straight, nice and elongated. And you're going to feel this in your shoulders and in the upper arms of both arms, although in slightly different places on each arm. And then, because it's yoga and we like everything to be even in yoga, we're going to switch. So now put your left leg over your right leg. Take your left hand, bring it behind your head with a yoga strap, if that's what you need. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. Very British today. Alright, the next stretch we're going to do is, again, one that I'm sure you've seen in a million gym classes. I'm going to shift myself around a little bit here. Get to look at my gross toes, sorry. You're going to bring one leg up against the thigh of the other leg. So one leg's out straight, the other leg is bent with the foot against this thigh. And keeping your toes pointed, you're going to hinge at the hip. Always hinge at the hip, never around your back. Hinge at the hip and bring, if it's your right foot that's out, your right hand down to your toes. Alright, and that's going to give you a great stretch all through the leg. Now you can add to this and give yourself a nice stretch in the torso and arms too by bringing the other arm around. So you're now in a twist as well as hinging from the hips. And then you're going to hold this for a while. Again, be careful not to round your back. This is not good for you. You're not getting any deeper of a stretch and you're hurting your back. And then we're going to switch sides. So bring the other leg out straight. This leg, the leg that was straight previously, up against the inner thigh of the stretched out leg. Adjust your shirt because despite all your fat acceptance talk, you're still a little self-conscious. And reach for the toes. Again, if you want an extra stretch, bring that other hand around and you can get a nice twist in there as well. You'll feel that a little bit through your upper back and the top arm. And hold that for a bit. And release. Alright, and the last upper body stretch we're going to do is a great one for the shoulders. I do it all the time and it is so releasing. It's wonderful, especially if you carry any tension in your shoulders. I carry a ton of tension in my shoulders. It starts off very much like, again, like a stretch that you've done in gym class or in workout videos. I'm going to bring both arms out like this. Bring one arm, I'm using my right arm, bring one arm across your body. Bring your other arm, in this case my left arm, forward, and then hook that around the elbow. Now, if you're getting a good stretch out of this, this is as far as you need to go. If you're feeling a nice stretch all through here, then great, that's all you need. If you're like me and you are not feeling a particular stretch there, what you want to do is, again, start from this position, and then turn the straight arm, your right arm, palm up, and bring it up and around so that now, in addition to hiding your face, you're doing what is essentially half of Eagle Pose. All of Eagle Pose, like, is that arm thingy with a matching leg thingy that I honestly don't understand how it's physically possible. And part of that's that I'm a big girl, and part of that's that I'm just not flexible in that particular way. But part of it is that I genuinely feel like you shouldn't be able to do that without breaking your leg. But I've seen people do it, so I know it's possible, and if you're that flexible and you're capable of it, great, have at it. Anyway, so this is what I tend to think of as half eagle, even though I don't think it actually has a proper name. So one arm across, hook up like that, bring the other arm up so your palms are facing, and what you want to do once you're in this position is actually bring your elbows away from your body without, see how I'm kind of tucked in here? You want to bring them away from your body without lifting them up. You're not looking to lift them up necessarily, but just bring them out away from your chest a little bit. And that's going to create a great stretch across your upper back and shoulders. Oh, it feels so good. Alright, then you're going to release and switch arms. You're going to feel that the sensation is slightly different from side to side. It's very, very similar. You get a very similar stretch because you really are stretching across the entire upper part of your back. But you're going to feel the intensity, the location of the highest intensity, sort of shift sides. And that is half Eagle Pose. Alright, this last pose is actually one of my absolute favorites to do. It's a great stretch for the outer part of your hips and your gluteus. And you're going to start in a kneeling position, kind of like I am now. And you're going to take one leg, I'm going to, in this case, use my left, and straighten it out behind you. Go ahead and drop that knee for support. And then you're going to bring this leg, your right leg, up underneath you so it's sort of, so that the calf and shin are sort of perpendicular to that line you're creating with your back leg. And then, with your hands just in front of and to the sides of your front leg, you are going to drop your weight down. Let your hips sink as low to the ground as you can. It may not be very deep. I don't know how well you can see because I'm wearing dark colors, but there's a lot of space going on in here. My back hip is not on the ground, even a little bit. And then we're going to switch sides. I usually do that by swinging my back leg forward so that I'm sitting cross-legged, and swinging what was my front leg back into behind me, and look at that, I'm back in this pose. Now, it's totally normal. You may be more flexible on one side than the other. I'm much lower down on this side than I was on the other side, but in both cases, I get a great stretch right through here. You can bring this down, as I am doing right now, so that you're essentially laying across that front leg. I don't recommend it unless you've been practicing for a while, because you can overstretch and hurt yourself this way. And I'm mostly doing it right now because it puts my face in the video, and I'm a narcissist like that. Alright, gym bats, that's it for this week. Those are all the poses I recommend for general flexibility and specifically for flexibility for bondage. Next video will be out later this week or early next week at the latest, and that will include a full yoga series with all of those stretches as well as a few additional poses and strength building moves.